And I tell people it's because they said, if that joker's making money doing this, we'll be able to do great. And I'm serious about that. There'll be people that, some of you brand new in the business, that just saw this business this past week and are here tonight wondering what in the world is going on here. You will be able to sponsor people that I can't, because now they'll see me up in front of people and knowing the jokes and smooth and be able to talk for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and no big deal, know what I'm talking about. And they'll sit back there and say, wow, that's great, but I could never do that. And I'll take that dream right from them. And if they see someone standing out there who's nervous and scared and yet excited about what their belief they can do in this business, that'll speak to the people and say, wow, if he can do it, maybe I can do it. I'd set goals, okay? I would set goals for myself that my big fear was failing. I hated to fail, and I especially hated to fail in front of the person I loved the most, and that was my wife. And so I would share my dreams and goals with my upline, but I wouldn't share them with my wife because I was so scared of failing in her eyes. And gals, the best thing you can do for your husband is to believe in him, to build him up, to know that for him to know that you love him unconditionally. Whether he builds his business or not, you have unconditional love for him. And to tell him how great he's going to be and how great, what a winner he is and what a leader and how he's going to take you to diamond, and that's what I needed to hear from Audrey. But I would set goals for like phone calls for a goal like this. Now, this may sound negative, but it's not negative. At least for me, it wasn't. I would set a goal. I'd say, tonight, I'm going to get 10 no's on the phone. Is that positive or negative? Okay? To get 10 no's on the phone, what is the minimum amount of phone calls you have to make? 10. And that was about 10 more than what I normally make, okay? So the phone call would go like this. Hey, Joe, Jerry calling here. If I could show you a way to generate another $2,000 a month on top of what you're doing, would that be of interest to you? Can't promise you anything. Don't want you to get your hopes up. But if you're, interested, we can set up time, get together. I'll show you what we're looking for. He said, yeah, sounds good. When can we get together? I'm like, oh, really? You're interested? Because now I had to make 11 phone calls, okay? But see, it took the fear of failing away. It took the fear. I didn't set a goal that I'm going to get 3 yeses, okay? I'd set a goal for activity. I'd set a goal not on accomplishment, but on activity. So I was doing the work because I knew I could do the work with this business. I had to decide, was this a hobby or was this my own business? Was I going to treat it like a real business or I was just going to play around with it? I had to develop that winner's attitude. I had to develop that attitude that I'm going to do it no matter what other people say. Audrey talked about dropping back in volume in our business during a 6-month period where we had to really get it together and learn to communicate. And a book that helped us a lot was Personality Plus, to learn to understand each other. But I had to get the attitude that when I talk to people, when they say, oh, well, I tried that, I had to have the attitude, well, we're not trying, we're doing. Do you want to do it or not? What helped me was to learn that I could build a business mad or excited. I was envious of people who could build it excited. They were always excited, okay? I couldn't build it that way. I build it mad. I get mad at not doing the work I knew I could do in this business. I get mad at seeing other people grow across stage and us not. I got mad at other people not wanting it as bad as what I wanted it, and it would motivate me to overcome my fears and do more of the work. I get mad at listening to the tapes. We got one time from George Pointner where he talks about his first month he sponsored 14 personals. The next month he helped those 14 sponsor 156. And the third month he helped those 156 put in over 1,100 distributors in a 3-month period. And I'm like, well, great, so what if you did it? You didn't have to brag about it, And I pulled the tape out and I threw it out the window. I was on the way to the meet. I was so upset I threw the tape out the window. It's along Route 81 somewhere. But I say, if he can do that, can I sponsor one? Just one. So we kept on doing the work. I remember when we first went over 7,500. I remember sitting on the living room floor with my wife with papers, PV pads scattered all over the place, adding up and re-adding up and coming up with 7,800. 7,800. It's like, wow, we did it. And man, that was the best part. The best night we had in this business was when we did that, because my first time I felt like, I set a goal and I accomplished it. Something that I had doubts, I had fears on. I didn't know if it would happen or not at times. At times I wanted to quit, but I wouldn't let myself. And we finally did it. 12 months in this business. In March of '89, we went over 7,500 and never went under since. I was able to get a radio. Do you have any radio-controlled cars or trucks or planes over here? Okay, I had a little 18-wheeler truck when I was small, and my sister sat on it like 2 days after I got it. I got it for Christmas. 2 days later, my sister sat on it and broke it. And I had this thing that I always wanted, a nice, 18-wheeler truck to play with. Well, they built one this year for the first time, a full 18-wheeler radio-controlled. It's 5.5 foot long. The cab is 2.5 foot long. Everything is exactly to scale. It has real shocks, shock absorbers, springs in it. It has a 3-speed transmission. It goes over 30 mile an hour. The headlights, high beam, low beam, running lights all the way around it. The trailer behind it, you can hook it on hook and stuff. And I bought this. I ain't going to tell you what it cost, okay? My wife still doesn't know. She'd freak out, okay? But when we went Emerald, I ordered this thing. It came in a couple months ago, and we've been having a ball with it. But, I've been practicing, going through the house, backing up and stuff, ready for this spring to be able to take it outside on the sidewalks. And, of course, all the kids in the neighborhood are going to come, and their question's going to be, what? Can I play with it? Can I try it? And my answer is going to be this. Well, if your dad gets one of these kit things, then you can play with it all you want. So have your dad call me. We'll get together. Can you imagine going golfing with your upline in the middle of the week? Can you imagine being able to take your cellular phone out with you on the golf course on a Wednesday, mid 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and be able to call people in your group who still have a job? Hey, Keith, can you identify this sound? And have your upline tee off. Yep, we're on the 9th hole. Where are you? We went, I'll have to skip that. We'd have challenges come up with the business, and something would happen, and I'd say to Honey, it won't matter in 5 years. We'd have different obstacles come up, and we'd look at each other and say, it won't matter in 5 years, because Fred is constantly talking. You got to guard your attitude. You need to stay focused on where you want to go. Don't let the little things disrupt you. And sometimes we have things happen, and we'd look at each other and say, it won't matter in 5 years. Then we look at each other and say, maybe 10 years, it won't matter. So real serious, okay? But as a way to laugh about different things that would happen and be able to keep us focused on where we wanted to go. Can you imagine getting your freedom? Can you imagine being able to leave your job for the last day? Can you imagine being able you get to plan each day what you want to do. I remember when I was little growing up, waiting for my dad to get off work, hoping he'd have time to throw ball or play with me or something. Now I'm the one home waiting by the window saying, when are the kids getting out of school? I mean, it's like I need someone to play with. Audrey gets tired. I can only play so long with Audrey, She gets tired of that pretty quick. Can you imagine taking your boss out to lunch and giving him your notice of when your last day is going to be? Okay? When we went direct, we moved off the farm. I started working for a company called Agri-King, setting up feed rations for dairy farmers. And my boss, we have his nephew in business with us, and he used to always kid his nephew when he'd see him. He'd say, hey, Kent, he said, did you sell all your toothbrushes this week? Did you get all your toothbrushes sold this week? Okay. For some reason, he thought we marketed toothbrushes or something. But, he always kind of rubbed it in him. And I always said, someday you'll realize the big business this is all about. And I remember I was going home. It was about lunchtime. I was heading up towards Lancaster, and I just thought, I feel like telling Audi today. And so I called him on my cellular phone. I said, Audi, this is Jerry. I need to talk to you, something very important. I want to meet you at the Red Lobster in Lancaster. Can you meet me there at 1 o'clock? He said, yeah, what's up? I said, well, I'll tell you when I get there. Oh, okay. So he left home. He had to drive like 20 minutes. to get to the Red Lobster. And I met him there. We went in, sat down, and I ordered, the mushroom stuff with crab meat. I ordered the biggest lobster they had, okay? I told him it was on me. I told him he could order whatever he wants. I'm paying, okay? And we're talking there, what's happening out in the field and stuff. And about halfway through, I put my fork down. I said, Audi, the reason I called you here, I said, I have something to tell you. I said, our other business, we're involved in, it's going pretty good, and I have to tell you, we're going to have to let you go as an employer. Oh! And I gave him my notice when my last day would be. And we decided to plan. I was invited to a retirement party early on in the business, and it did a lot to motivate me, because I used to have to get up at 20 after 5 every morning, 7 days a week to feed the steers. 20 after 5 every morning. And after I was at the retirement party at Brett and Fran Daimler, I remember thinking I'd be walking up to the barn at 5:30 in the morning thinking, Brett's still in bed. I'm out here at 5:30 in the morning. I ought to call him up just to let him know I'm thinking about him. But it put a dream in me to be able to be in a position someday where I didn't have to be controlled by the alarm clock, where I could have my kids come over and jump in bed to wake me up instead of an alarm clock wake me up. Sounded a lot nicer. Can you imagine starting to save your paychecks, that you're making so much money from the business that you forget about to pay from your job? We got paid on the 12th and the 26th every month, and they put them in the warehouse in the little mailboxes, and mine would be in there for a few days. I forget to pick it up. Everyone else, as soon as they knew payday on the 12th and the 26th, everyone who worked there showed up at the warehouse to get their paycheck, okay? And mine be in there a couple days. I'd leave it there a week sometimes just to bug them. Jerry, you didn't get your paycheck yet. Oh, is it payday again? Yeah, last week. Oh, okay. And I'd leave it there. Like, imagine your last day, showing up to work at 2:30 in the afternoon. What are they going to do, fire you? And to be at 3:30 to be able to go in the warehouse and put on your tuxedo, and to have people starting to come. A professional photographer comes, starts videotaping your last day. You clean out your truck on your last day. You throw all those papers and forms and files, you throw them away. You'll never have to see them again. At 4:15, your wife comes with your 3 children, and to see them come up and run and give you a hug with their big brown eyes and their excitement because they realized this was something that mom and dad had set a goal and done the work, and today part of their dreams coming true. To have 125 people in your group standing outside the warehouse at 4 o'clock, and you hear the helicopter in the distance coming over the horizon and circles the complex and lands right in front of the warehouse where you worked and had to show up for work every day. And you walk out with you and your wife, hop in the helicopter and fly away for the last day. You leave all the stresses and worries and pressures on the ground, and you fly away like an eagle, and you're as light as a feather, realizing what a life we will have ahead of us. You fly up to Fred Hartice's house. You land in his front yard, and they're there to greet you, along with Denny and Kelly Smith, and they escorted us over to his coach. We hopped in his private coach and drove down to Lancaster to Willow Valley, which is the largest hotel complex in Lancaster. And there was 450 people in your group screaming their heads off to greet you as you walk out of the coach and into the huge atrium where they have 3-story palm trees, 450 people sitting there on their feet clapping as you walk down up to the head table. It was the only time Willow Valley had a retirement party with a high chair at the head table. And Fred Hartice gets up, and you start bringing out your last 3 or 4 paychecks for him to cash because you were too busy and you forgot to, and he starts pulling out his wad of cash and cashing your last paychecks, and you realize from that point on you're going to have 6 Saturdays and a Sunday. What a life. Make sure you're all out there to enjoy it. You can all do it. Nice sharing with you.